YouTube, hello, you lovely lot. Now, let me ask you a question to start today's video off. Do you ever feel that you're winning trades and that finding winning trades isn't a problem, but you're still struggling to grow your capital? You're still struggling to make payouts. You're still struggling to make consistent monthly returns and quarterly returns. Now, it may not be something to do in terms of with your ability to win or lose, but it's more to do with the importance of risk to reward. Now, this is a heavily debated topic online. And really, being over 11 years now, I've always stuck to the very same risk to reward, and it has always served me incredibly well by the time it comes to my monthly P&L and quarterly P&L, the P&L that obviously matters. Because quite frankly, as you all know, you are going to all have losing trades. You're all going to have obviously winning trades, but a lot of you will have winning trades and you'll have a high win rate, but you still can't manage to see, as I said earlier, that consistency with your monthly and quarterly results. And quite frankly, the issue is risk to reward. Now, risk to reward gets a bit of as I said, it's heavily debated online. A lot of people think that your win rate is a success metric or is a metric in general that you can measure progress off and success off. And quite frankly, it's a load of rubbish. You can have a very high win rate of 75%, 80%, 85%, but the chances are your risk to reward is then skewed, as in it's a risk to reward of a 1-to-1. It's a risk to reward of a 1.5. And quite frankly, when it comes to the natural losing periods every trader will have, this is where you then see your profits being eroded. So today we're going to break down on the charts as well how I do it, how I structure my risk to reward, how I'm consistent with it, and how we can play with it and toy with it, as well as in regards to taking manual profits off the table to ensure that by the end of the month and the end of the quarter, you are seeing consistent monthly returns. So, putting it bluntly, you need to put more importance on your risk to reward and your consistency with your risk to reward over win rate, because you cannot control your win rate. I do not care what anybody says. This is not opinion. This is fact. You cannot control your win rate. Every trade you take, you don't 100% truly know if that's going to be a winner, a loser, a break even, a partial. You don't have that. You can't control that to a degree. Whereas your minimum risk to reward, you can control every single trade. Okay, let me explain. A trader that's trading a risk to reward of a 1-to-1, they can go on, if they've got a high win rate, let's say they go on a 4-win streak, a 5-win streak, okay? But that means they're up 4%, 5%, okay? But if they then naturally have 3-4 losses, which is incredibly normal, it's incredibly common, okay? There is an air of market randomness, as you all know. You can very easily go on these losing streaks. And I always say to people, typically, lower time frame traders, intraday traders, 1 minute, 5 minute, 15-minute traders, where it's a lot more intraday, they tend to be more those lower time frame and tiny risk to reward setups. There's a lot more volatility going on down. There's a lot more noise going on down there, okay? So you can vary, and their trade frequency is obviously a lot higher as well. So you can see, obviously, the more trades you take, the odds are you're going to take more losses as well. So as soon as you then have a few losses trading a 1-to-1 risk to reward, you're severely eating into P&L and you're severely eating into profits. And this can lead a lot of traders stuck. So they think, well, I've just had 5 winners, I've just had 4 winners, but again, by the end of the week or end of a couple of weeks or the end of the month, they're around break even still, or they're losing still. And it's to do with their risk to reward. So the way I structure it, every single trade I take is a minimum 1 to 3. Okay, so the initial targets will always be a 3%. If I love a trade, but the risk to reward isn't quite there, I don't take it, okay? Or I wait to scale in at a later date where I can get stops tighter while still maintaining those same targets, which then allows a better risk to reward or to meet that minimum requirement of a 1 to 3. The reason I do this, because if I have 3 losses on the bounce, I am only 1 win away from being break even as a minimum. A lot of the time, the risk to rewards on my trades are a 3.2 target, a 3.5% target, a 3.8%, a 4% target. It's somewhere between that 3 and 4% window. And the beauty of that is, again, you can have 2 losses, 3 losses, 4 losses, and 1 or 2 wins not only puts you back into the green, but puts you into a lovely bit of profit as well. I cannot tell you how many times where I know my strategy like the back of my hand, and after 11 years, it's incredibly robust in all market conditions. I know my strategy will happily can go on 4 losses, 5 losses, but I also know even if it does, which is rare for 5 losses in a row, but even if it did go on 5 losses, I am just 2 wins from not only going back to break even for that month, but also into profit of obviously 1%. 2 minimum risk towards of a 1 to 3, that's a minimum 6%. Obviously, that outweighs the 5% on the losses. So you can see how it is hugely advantageous. You can see how it takes a huge amount of psychological pressure for traders to need a high win rate. High win rate gets all this glamour and all this positivity, and it's not what people think. And so many aspiring traders measure their performance and measure their sort of progress off it. And I say, if you keep doing that for the rest of your life, you are going to be in an irritable cycle the whole time. Okay, it's going to feel like you're hitting your head against a brick wall because you cannot control win rate. So, being blunt, if you are watching this thinking, well, my strategy doesn't really allow for 1 to 3s, or it doesn't, I can't see trades going on to 2% or 3% or 4%, they reverse on me or whatever it is, then there you have a strategy issue, and that is a video separate for another day. What I say to traders is taking a minimum 1 to 3, as I've already said about. Let's say the trade then does start stalling, it does start for whatever reason reversing, but properly reversing. If you've then got a trailing stop involved, if it forces partials because it's hit your stops in profit, you may still leave that trade with 2% gain, early 2% gain in general, which, yes, it's not 3% as a minimum, but you've still left that trade with 2%, say. Whereas if you're trading a 1 to 1, it's either going to hit you for break even or it's going to be a loss because you haven't got that trade duration, that trade scope to allow for your stops to move and move and move into profit. And so again, even if you do get those more frustrating trades where you're running nicely and it goes against you, you're still leaving that trade typically with something quite healthy. Because again, if your stops did hit your stop loss in profit at 2%, that still gives you a buffer of obviously 2 losing trades still, if you're obviously very strict with how much you're risking per trade, as you should be. So if you can really be disciplined, for me, in my personal example, I risk 1% regardless. Every single initial trade is always 1%. And I always take a minimum risk reward of 1 to 3. Those parameters you can control. Those parameters you need to be very disciplined and consistent with. And if you can do that, well, I say for long enough, for the entirety and the eternity of your trading career, it will serve you very well, I can assure you. Okay, I haven't had a losing month in 16 months. 16 months. And that's just not one, that's not me saying, an outlandish claim. I post every single trade I take live for full transparency. So it is all there for people to see. Every consistently profitable month so far in the last 16 months. Okay. Now, is that achievable 3, 4, 5 years in? No. I'm 11 years in. There's a lot of experience behind me now. My strategy performs very well in all market conditions. It's robust. There's great positive discretion to my strategy. But you can see the point. I cannot tell you the amount of times where I've maybe had 2 losing weeks out of 4 weeks in a month, but I've still remained profitable that month. I've still had a fantastic quarter that quarter. It is so crucial you focus on risk to reward and the amount you're risking and not your win rate. I promise you will have a losing battle the whole time if you focus on win rate. Of course, if you want any help with your sort of strategy and tweaking it, developing it, then check out the coaching below. But guys, just to leave you on this note, take this stuff on board. Even if you currently trade a 1 to 1 or you don't like what you've heard today, give it a go, give it a chance. You might just think it's the best decision you've ever made in your trading career.